Coming up this week, off screen, David Oyelowo takes us hostage, Dane DeHaan poses for life, Toni Collette and Drew Barrymore assure us they miss you already, we meet Mia Madre, Anthony Hopkins looks for some solace, and Kevin Costner takes us on a tour of McFarland, USA. All those to come and more off screen.
This is Off Screen. Off Screen. With the latest film news and reviews, this is Off Screen, the on-screen radio show.
Welcome to Off Screen, I'm Van Connor.
I'm Calvin Prickett.
So shall we start with a little trip to McFarland, USA?
Why not? I hear it's delightful.
It is delightful, Calvin. It's a bit TV movie, but it is delightful. Right, so, actually, funnily enough, you actually reviewed the last Disney obligatory contractual sports movie with me, which was $1 Million Arm.
I did, yes, and that was
just awful.
It was
so bland. So
bland.
dull.
I've had vanilla milkshakes more interesting.
I really have as well. I've found more exciting wallpaper paste in my lifetime. But so Disney are at it again though. We've got another underdog sports drama, and would you know they've gone and got Kevin Costner for it?
Well, it's basically his shtick.
It is his shtick, isn't it? Do you think it's a case of like every month or so the mortgage statement comes through and old Costner's just like, I tell you, I haven't done cross country running yet.
Time to gear up those sports speeches.
And so here we are. It's Kevin Costner does cross-country running this time because he's done...
I thought you were kidding. I thought you were actually kidding.
No,
it's actually cross-country.
It's actually cross-country running.
Okay,
So
right.
This is based on the true story of Jim White, who was a high school gym teacher / coach, who after a heated, anger-ridden altercation with a student, was fired and forced to move to a very poor Hispanic community in California. Would you guess what it's called?
McFarland.
It is in fact McFarland.
Right.
He notices one day that because of the working conditions under which his students work, they're all picking, basically, they're crop pickers for their parents, effectively. They are basically heat resilient. They are incredibly athletic. They can run at incredible speeds for long periods of time without taking a break because, well, why wouldn't they? It's all they know to do.
So it's the incredible underdog story of the X-Men beating other cross-country runners.
Effectively it is. And he then decides, in the grandest of Cool Runnings-like traditions, to form the first McFarland cross-country running team. Here's a clip.
I don't know if you know, but if we keep going the way we're going, you guys have a chance to qualify for state.
Really?
Yeah, really. But it doesn't matter what I think, okay? I can't do it for you. And I don't have to be the one to tell you that the odds are stacked against you. But if you believe in yourselves, and maybe more importantly, you find a way to believe in each other and your teammates, it won't matter what anyone else thinks. That's the beauty of sports.
We don't practice to lose, Holmes. I mean, coach.
You don't eat the produce, coach.
What?
You don't eat the produce.
First rule of picking, you eat it, you're fired.
God, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't...
So Kevin Costner, sports drama. You kind of know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's
with
like
this
putting on a
one.
nice warm pair of slippers.
That's the best possible comparison for it, actually. It is like putting on
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's Kevin Costner doing his thing. I'm in the mood for it. Let's sit down. Let's enjoy Kevin Costner being a warm, he's the movie dad.
He kind of is, isn't it? He's
like
John Ritter of sports cinema.
I've never met Kevin Costner, but I trust him with my life. It's that kind of...
That's why he was Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
So what you've got here, because we've only got minutes to do this, what we've got is effectively a comedically dialed down Cool Runnings with a Hispanic flavouring. The best thing I could really describe it as. It's got that reliable Kevin Costner performance, you know. He does that thing, I'm going to give some rousing, inspirational, motivational speeches, and then I'm going to do some family drama in between. And you know what? He does it all perfectly well. It's Costner going for a stroll. It's that kind of
He doesn't
effortlessness.
sleepwalk through it. He gives it the edge, what it needs.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. So you say you've got his usual charm. He doesn't call him to do anything you have not seen him do throughout his entire body of work so far. And then you've got a couple of disappointments. You've got Maria Bello, who's just playing yet again somebody's wife. And you remember when Maria Bello was someone interesting to watch?
When she wasn't typecast.
Yeah, I remember when she was in like Coyote Ugly and things like that, and she was actually an inspirational sort of little
Of course, you
actress.
remember Coyote Ugly.
Yeah, I do. I was of that age at that time. I quite like Danny Moore, who's got this Edward James almost like sort of a man of the people character. But MVP trophy goes to Diana Maria Riva is her name, as the mother of 3 of his runners, and she's equal parts, touching drama and absolute hilarity in that sort of Hispanic mum type, stereotypical comedic kind of a way. Nikki Caro, who did Whale Rider, directs this, and she fares slightly less well than her cast, who are all perfectly able, perfectly enjoyable. She fares less well. And she's got Adam Arkapour, I forget where he's from now, doing the cinematography. And what she's done, she's gone to some beautiful, beautiful cinematography, and then whacked a dust filter over it.
Oh, it's the Zack Snyder effect.
It's like that, but because there's Mexicans in it, people who tenuously connected to make, we have to have a dust sandy sort of a filter over it, and
Brilliant.
it's a little bit depressing. Unfortunately, it's very, very much a TV movie. It feels very Lifetime movie, very Hallmark.
Yes,
but Hallmark with a touch of the Costner.
Well,
So not all bad. No, there's enjoyable stuff in there.
it'll be on Channel 4 in...
Channel 5.
Channel 5 in like 10 years' time, and my
10 months, maybe.
my mother will sit down and enjoy it.
Jordan Peele, then. That's an interesting story this week. So, Jordan Peele, who's half of Key and Peele, which...
Yeah, the famous comedy duo which started on YouTube, and then...
Did that start on YouTube?
Yeah, they started on YouTube, and then got a massive Comedy Central.
I had no idea. So I only know it as a Comedy Central series.
Yeah.
I love the series. I have it on all the time. It finished last week or so.
So naturally they're now getting flooded with offers.
Well, they have said that part of the reason they have ended the series was to go and make movies together. They want to make one every couple of years and keep it going. It's sort of a Cheech and Chong or Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor kind of a relationship. And I kind of like that idea. Now, Jordan Peele's announced that one of his solo projects, he's going to be writing and directing a horror movie for Blumhouse called Get Out. And this is going to be basically using a horror movie to discuss race, which I think is quite intriguing.
This is more exciting than practically every horror movie we have announced.
This is very much
because it's
the
actually
case,
being made by someone with a level of intelligence beyond a 4th grader.
That and M. Night Shyamalan, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we take a look at Miss You Already, then? This is the one for the ladies this week. This is...
this is the wine and chocolate screening.
The wine and chocolate screening with Drew Barrymore and Toni Collette. And stop me if you've heard this before, but what you have are a pair of lifelong best friends.
Stop.
Okay. Of course, yeah. So you've got Drew Barrymore, who's the American friend. You've got Toni Collette, who's the wild child British friend.
Right.
And her mum is Jackie Bissett. I went through the whole movie and didn't notice this. I was like, who is that? It was Tilda Swinton in... Tilda Swinton? Is it Tilda Swinton who's in Trainwreck? It's Tilda Swinton in Trainwreck all over again. But it's that sort of an effect because she's buried under prosthetics, etc. And... So, this is basically a combination of Beaches, Stepmom, Steel Magnolias, those kind of films, but a little bit of contemporary British flair. And so you have the lifelong best friends. One is the straight-laced, want to save the world American type. The other one is the the rock child kind of a type who marries Dominic Cooper, because why wouldn't you? And... Exactly. And so Mrs. Dominic Cooper one day is diagnosed with breast cancer. I say one day, this is within minute 1 of the film. And what we have then is an exploration of her treatment of said cancer, which then in turn starts to affect every other aspect of her life, causing a sort of rift in her friendship with Drew Barrymore, who is also dealing with her own troubles, namely the pressures put upon her marriage by infertility. I was going to say infidelity then. Infertility. She's trying to have a child with her husband, who's played by Paddy Considine, because if you want the movie to be any good, you got to go and get Paddy Considine. And so what's going to happen? Is everything going to fall to pieces? Can Drew and Tony patch it up and make amends? Here's a clip.
The chemo took forever. My job, Millie said, was to turn up with treats and try not to be annoying.
So, Jess, you're in charge of these.
Recycled vomit bowls. Well, I won't need those because I took my meds.
I might need one after seeing that enormous needle go into your veins.
Do you want one of my pills?
Girls, we're not at Glastonbury. You can't just swap pills.
Oh, you spoil sport.
Yeah, well, look, anti-nausea tablets work for 80% of patients. But just in case Millie's in the special 20s. Hey, I need technical equipment. Thank you. Good. Keep an eye on her.
Thank you, Sam.
So, wine and chocolates movie there for you, Calvin.
Sounds like every summer Waterstones bestseller paperback.
Are they always bestsellers though?
Yeah, that's the troubling thing. There's a group of 5 every year.
Fair enough. So actually, I quite like this. I liked it quite a lot, actually. It's got this really sparky, really witty, really fun little screenplay. And it's by Morwenna Banks, who has written some really bizarre things. Mostly she wrote Up the Women, which was the one with, I want to say Rebecca Front. But she also has written for Peppa Pig, apparently.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, she's been an actress for Peppa Pig. That's the thing. So she's an actress turned writer, I think. And what you've got is this, and this is a surprising thing to say out loud, jovial yet unflinching sort of a depiction of cancer on film.
Right.
It's kind of strange because you've not really seen it handled in this sort of way. There is this sense of, let's go really real with it, but let's keep it funny. And it kind of worked. There are moments in its lower moments where it did remind me of Maybe Baby, but which is never a good thing. But although I have a soft spot for that, I like Tom Hollander's character in Maybe Baby. But other than that, it is a lot of fun. The success of the film obviously has to be the two leads there. It has to be Drew Barrymore and Toni Collette, and they work really, really well together. And they have such great chemistry. And I was told that they were on the Alan Carr program, whatever that is, on Friday nights. Is it Friday Night with Alan Carr or something like that?
Is it?
I don't know.
Chatty Man?
Chatty Man, that's it.
One.
And apparently they were just incredibly Stilton on it, but that doesn't show in this film. They are terrific. They have great screen chemistry. They have a lot of fun. The movie is great. Catherine Hardwicke's directed this. I didn't know this until the very, very end. I thought, of course, because there is a strange visual playfulness to it, in spite of the rather harrowing subject matter.
Yeah, cancer doesn't tend to be depicted in a way that is usually
visually arresting.
No,
it does not. And lo and behold, Catherine Hardwicke has found a way to make it sort of visually interesting. There are tears in places, there are laughter in others, and there are times when there's both at the same time. It is a lot of fun, it is a lot of sadness, it is a lot of emotion, but you know what? I really enjoyed it. Miss you already? I have fond memories of it already. So yes, I miss it already, I would say. The Girl on the Train, that's an interesting one as well. That train car's
chugging on.
Up. Keeps chugging on. The train car's filling up.
Yeah, mixing metaphors. We're such douchebags.
Standing room only.
Yeah.
So, of course, we now have Chris Evans and Jared Leto are being pursued to play the male character. Because this is an interesting thing about the film. It's female cast members. They're all stocked up. There are no men in this film yet.
It's mostly a female cast.
It is.
From the novel.
And then we now need sort of guys to play the husbands,
yes.
It turns out. So, Chris Evans, Jared Leto, because apparently the women behind the film are incredibly optimistic. And,
and they really like superhero movies, apparently.
They do. Can you just imagine that casting office? Yeah. Who represents husband to you? Jared Leto.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be in that office, would you? It's just one of the most optimistic people in the world. So Chris Evans and Jared Leto are being pursued to play the husbands of, I think, Hayley Bennett and Rebecca Ferguson.
Yes.
And then you've got Emily Blunt, who's
recently divorced and will likely be getting some kind of husband at some point.
I've not read the book. I'm told it's brilliant.
Yeah, so am I.
And it's from Tate Taylor, who directed The Help.
It's one of those things. I worked at Waterstones and I sold 8,000 copies of them, but never read it.
So one interesting one we've got coming out this week, of course, is Captive with Kate Mara and David Oyelowo. Now, Kate Mara, it'd be an interesting time having her back on the big screen.
Yes, that's sudden. But
yeah.
I think she needs to get in there and pick things up as quickly as possible, or else we won't be seeing much of her.
No, I think she went from House of Cards to one of the worst, probably the worst superhero movie to date, if we're honest.
Yeah.
And yes,
I mean, it makes Spider-Man 3 look coherent.
There is that. However, she is now back. She is back in a more coherent film, and she's starring opposite David Oyelowo, who most of us know best really as Martin Luther King in Selma. Not myself. I think of him more as Danny from Spooks in the first three seasons. This is my age, you see. I remember the early seasons of Spooks. I know you were still a toddler. But,
I was still a toddler, yes.
Yeah, you've probably still been a toddler when Spooks started. But so David Oyelowo, who turned up last year in Selma, should have had an Oscar, but didn't.
He really should have.
Terrific performance, terrific movie. And the best part is, we got a chance to sit down and talk to him.
Fantastic.
Which we will play for you now. So, David, thanks for joining us. The film is Captive. You play Brian Nichols, and this is based on the best-selling book, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. Now, this has been called a faith-based film, and I was just wondering, that is quite a popular market at the moment. What about your own faith did you bring to the project?
Well, yes, I'm a Christian myself, and so faith plays a big part in my own life. But, I do think that faith-based movies have a reputation, and sometimes justified, for being very proselytory, very preachy, very on the nose, and having a bit of an agenda. What we try to do with this film is to have a film that has faith as an integral, organic part of it, but not something that sort of is walloping you over the head. As these true events played out in 2005 in Atlanta, you have a murderer, a man who killed 4 people in a day, taking a meth addict hostage for 7 hours. That's not your average faith-based movie. But, Pastor Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life, which Ashley Smith read to Brian Nichols, that's what happened. And it helped these 2 people turn a much-needed corner.
Now, you have said that you didn't enjoy getting into the actual mindset of Brian Nichols, and that what he did was reprehensible, his actions were reprehensible. I'm just wondering, how did you mentally prepare to play that part?
Well, you have to put those opinions to the side, and you have to try and understand who he was, why he did what he did, and to not judge him for doing what he did, which is tricky, considering what he did do. But he is a 3-dimensional human being who did do what he did, but it's the humanity within him that made him stop when he was confronted with Ashley Smith, who was also a broken person, who somehow reawakened the humanity within him to make him not kill her and eventually let her go and give himself up. And so even though on face value he is a monster who had done these terrible things, through the course of the film his humanity is reawakened.
Well, it's a terrific pair of performances from yourself and Kate Mara. I'm just wondering, was it really important to you that Brian wasn't written in too sympathetic a way? Was the level of sympathy and non-justification, was that integral to how you saw the character?
Absolutely. It's one of the most difficult things about the film, because 4 people are dead, and their families' lives are forever changed because of what he did. Out of respect to them, and out of acknowledgement of the devastation of what he did, you can't, the film cannot be a film that excuses what he did, or somehow an exoneration of that. But in order for Ashley Smith's life to take the turn that it took, she attributes part of her salvation, as it were, to him. And so that side of the story does also need to be acknowledged. It's the real tricky balance, which is why in the first half of the film, he doesn't talk. He is just a killing machine. He is someone who you are able to project all your fears and judgment onto until he encounters her, and she's the one who helps to turn him somehow. Now, he is serving multiple life sentences for what he did, and I would say quite rightly so. So it's not one of those happy ending movies where he sees the light and then they get married and skip off into the sunset or something crazy like that. Very different film. That would be the Hollywood version of the film. But this is real, and it's what happened, and that's why we felt a need to tell it in that way.
So this is your third time producing in as little as 2 years. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is the future for yourself, producing the roles, producing the projects that you take roles in?
Well, I think as an actor, you can either be part of the solution or be part of the problem. And so for me personally, there's no point complaining about the nature of the roles I get to play, and if I'm unsatisfied with them, if there is anything I can do to change the narrative around that. And so a film like like Captive is one I'm inspired by, and that's what you need to produce movies. Making movies is so tough, so you have to pick projects that you just every morning would just want to see that film exist in the world. And so all the films I've produced thus far and I'm going to do in the future are ones that address the needs I have as an actor, as a producer, as an audience member, and stop me complaining and keep me doing.
Is that an important aspect to deciding which films you want to develop as a producer, whether or not you can sort of stick with them for the elongated production period?
Absolutely, because you're talking, no matter the size of the film, you're talking either about hundreds of thousands or more likely millions of dollars or pounds that you have to raise. And it's a very, very competitive market. There are lots of people who want to do it and are doing it very well. And so, this film was 4 years of hard work. Selma was 7 years of hard work. Most of the films I do take about 5 to 7 years to come to fruition. So you better be inspired to do them if they're going to get made.
And finally, sort of a congratulations. You actually are the first black man to play James Bond, I believe. You have beaten Idris Elba to the punch.
Oh dear, in an audiobook.
In an audiobook, but it still counts.
No. Okay, well, as long as you think so.
Trigger Mortis, I believe, is the
That's
the
right,
audiobook.
that's right, yes. No, Anthony Horowitz's great new book. I know, that was an honor and a pleasure to do, and I will take the moniker happily, but... yes, I'm having to correct people so often who are saying, oh my goodness, you're the new Bond. In an audiobook.
One final one, though. Star Wars?
Star Wars, I do the voice in Star Wars Rebels.
The voice, no, not carrying through to the movies.
I'm hiding behind the camera on these two franchises, aren't I? But yeah, it certainly makes my kids very happy.
So, of course, on to the review then. So, Captive, which is, of course, produced by Oyelowo, and this is, I don't know if you know the true story of this one. This is the story of a struggling single mother who is trying to get back her daughter who's been taken away from her because, of course, she the mother, not the daughter, is struggling with addiction.
Okay.
Specifically to ice or meth. She refers to it as ice, and yet it's meth. Anyway, it's a strange little thing in the film. And one night, the night before she is due to make an appearance at her daughter's school fashion show, which is a sort of watershed moment in their relationship, she is taken hostage by an escaped murderer and rapist.
Okay.
Played by, of course, Oyelowo.
That's quite a twist.
It's quite a twist. And the pair spend an evening together in the confines of her apartment, during which she finds solace in the self-help book, The Divine Purpose. And can you see where this is going? Yeah.
Oh, is this? I think I've heard of this.
Right, okay. We've got a clip.
What is that? What are you doing?
It's just a book.
What book?
The Purpose-Driven Life.
Read it to me.
It all starts with God. It's not about you. If you want to know why you were placed on this planet, you must begin with God. The greatest tragedy is not death, but life without purpose. When life has meaning, you can bear almost anything.
Could you forgive me?
I don't know. Maybe God can.
Right, so the first thing to point out with this movie is, first of all, Oyelowo is terrific. He is terrific. I can't dispute that at all. I actually think Kate Mara is very good in it as well. I think she has a way of presenting the addiction aspects of the story rather superbly. It's not one of those cliched trembling.
Scratching,
I gotta have it. It's not one of those trembling. I gotta have it moment kind of thing.
No,
it's presented as more of an emotional problem rather than a physical one, and the story plays it in that way as well. The story plays it in very much. It's a coping mechanism that happens to have the physical byproduct of addiction. And I really like that representation. I think it's a really well done aspect of the film. There are aspects of the film that everybody involved struggles with, but the addiction is not one of them. Oyelowo has a pretty well-written and well-performed take on Brian Nichol, the in reality escaped murderer and rapist, which is he doesn't present him as particularly just. He doesn't present him as justified or potentially or anything like that. There is no unnecessary sort of softening to him.
No.
He is played with all the requisite nastiness that he needs to
there's
be.
no, it's a moral quandary. It's just a human being. No, it's just.
It's none of
he's
those.
just a
it's none of those.
nasty-
you wouldn't know where I'm from. Kind of. Not one of those performances which you think, bored, yawn, done this. What he's done is he's played this relatively to the bone. He's played it very well, and it works because his performance naturally imbues it with just a slight hint of sympathy and regret. Not a full-on angle, not a subplot, not a subtext, anything like that, but just a hint, enough for you to think, okay, I see why. Okay, I get this.
Yeah.
It is then also implied that, not implied, sorry, but outright stated that he, in his own mental state, does not believe he ever did anything wrong. And with Oyelowo's performance, you completely believe that. Works perfectly.
Well, there you go.
Now, it is directed by Jerry Jameson, who has a long-established career of directing TV movies. Now, the reason I bring that up, can you take a stab?
I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark that this is filmed like a TV movie.
Yes, and it plays like a TV movie. It's also then got Michael K. Williams and Leonor Varela as two cops looking for Brian Nichols, and oh my God, they are awful. Leonor Varela puts in the worst performance of her admittedly not really high-profile career anyway. This makes her turn as the love interest in Blade 2 look accomplished. Michael K. Williams gets a moment that you just you just eye roll every time he opens his mouth, because this is a great actor who's given expositional TV movie dialogue.
Yeah.
And when it gets to a stage when he has that cliched moment where he attacks the vending machine, and you're thinking, Jesus, Michael, this is a career low. One of the notes, because it is very much a TV movie, I can't call it much more than that, and it isn't really much better quality than a TV movie, save for the two central performances. And that's when the film works best, when it focuses on those two. When it goes back to the cops, bored, you will mentally check out. But then when you are back with Oyelowo and Mara, you're fine, you're in good hands. Where the film does, however, show the cracks is in dealing with the actual book, which is evidently central to the marketing. And you watch the film and you think, okay, the marketing must have lied, because that book and the fact that it exists only takes about 120 solid seconds of screen time if you slap it all together. So imagine my surprise then.
Yeah.
When you get to the end of the film, and over the end credits, would you know what comes up, Calvin?
The book.
An episode of Oprah.
Sorry?
An episode of Oprah is played over the end. An excerpt from an episode of Oprah is played over the end credits, in which the real woman who Kate Mara is playing is talking to Oprah and told, yes, Jesus loves you very much. Here is the writer of the book that saved your soul. And the writer turns up and tells us all about this book. And you're thinking, that's fantastic. I wish I'd seen a movie about your book. That sounds really interesting, mate. However, I have not seen an interesting movie about your book. I have seen a movie about David Oyelowo taking Kate Mara hostage, and your book cameoed in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the latest film news and reviews, this is Offscreen.
And we're back. So, should we deal with Mia Madre?
Mia Madre.
Which, as the film tells us, because it's one of those great films where it is a subtitled Italian film, but it also translates the title at the beginning for you, which I always find quite convenient.
That's nice.
Yeah, so Mia Madre, which of course my mother. This is the latest from Palme d'Or winning filmmaker Nani Moretti, sorry. And basically, this is a sort of weird cross-section. It's a contemporary drama about a female filmmaker, a female director, who's directing a film about a working-class uprising at a factory in Italy. And she is making this film whilst dealing with the deteriorating health of her elderly mother. Margarita Bai plays the filmmaker, whose name, incidentally, is Margarita. There's a lot of that going around.
Well, there.
It's strange, though. It's one of those Charlie Sheen always plays Charlie type affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, in the meanwhile as well, she has to deal with an American actor named Barry Huggins, played by John Turturro, who claims to have made, I think it's 105 films in his 30-year career, and is endlessly name-dropping, talking about the time he worked with Kubrick, etc. And, Huggins' behaviour proves to be a tad trifling, we shall say. And, here's a clip.
Hello, Mr. Huggins. Yes, that's me. This is Stanley Kubrick. How can I get you the script? I said, UPS it. What if you're not home? If I'm not home, the guy will throw it over the gate, lo lascia lì. That's unbelievable. Mine doesn't. Anyway, I left for London, okay? We're just a traveling bag. I was supposed to shoot for 1 week. But they had told me, look, nobody shoots for 1 week with Kubrick. Nessuno gira solo una settimana.
So, Mia Madre there. Now, this is a strange one in that, on the surface, there doesn't seem to be much more than a tenuous connection between the filmmaking aspect and the elderly mother aspect. It does all start to come together towards the end, and don't get me wrong, it's quite a moving film in places. Margarita Blythe's performance as Margarita is solid, very
sort of a bizarrely meta concept.
It is in a strange way. You can't help. There is one. You can't help but at one point think, do you know what? I can almost imagine the English language remake of this starring Emma Thompson, but it's hard. It's hard not to have that thought through it. There is this element in the middle of it all, though, which is John Turturro's character, and he is at once the most enjoyable and the most infuriating part of the film, because he's bilingual anyway in the film. He's equal parts Italian and American, but the shtick with his character is his Italian isn't perfect. He constantly forgets his lines. He's more or less an incompetent actor. He's kind of over the hill,
right?
And he does monopolise a lot of the runtime to the extent that you think, really, do we have to do? Can we not move back to the story? Why are we still on this character? But then there are moments when he's actually a lot of fun and he's enjoyable, and you think, okay, you're fair enough. Now, Moretti's direction in this is it's surprisingly sort of raw and soulful, and this works in tandem with a screenplay which it balances the real with the dream sequence, with reality with dream sequences in a way that at times will really throw you. Okay. So Margarita periodically has what we think are real incidents where she lashes out at her mother, for instance, things like that, and these turn out to be dream sequences, and we were told within a moment that it is a dream. But when you're in that moment, you think, wow, this is really going somewhere strange.
Yeah. But is it one of those dream sequences where it is?
Oh, it's not like she takes off her hat and she's a wolf.
No, obviously, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is it one of those things where it's overused? Where it's...
No.
By the time you ended the movie, you could have... Well, I could have done with 2 less dream sequences.
No, it's not. I think there's only about 3 or 4 of them in there. But they are all quite poignant, and they do serve a purpose, and it is about the emotional frailty of Margarita as she carries on through the sort of process of... kind of making peace with and then saying goodbye to her mother through her condition. And of course then through all that you've got the filmmaking side of it as well. I will admit I personally found the filmmaking stuff slightly more interesting, because although the relationship from the daughter's perspective was very well defined, I don't think there was enough of a character to the mother for my liking. As I say, John Turturro equal parts best and worst thing about the film, but quite a solid sort of almost meta commentary drama in a sense, and decent little Italian film. Keanu Reeves has got an interesting one. We've got to talk about that.
We've got to talk about Keanu.
Who doesn't love Keanu? Rally Car.
Right.
Which is a Chinese movie described as a Chinese take on Cannonball Run.
Good God.
Starring Keanu Reeves.
Good God.
What's not to love in that?
That sounds beautiful.
I
love this this sort of trend lately of people like Adrian Brody and Keanu Reeves and these kind of like stock tall white men with beards just being hoarded by Chinese investors and taken to their movies to give them some sense of legitimacy.
Well, that's it. If it gets to the big tentpole equivalents, then who cares? You know, I want to see a Cannonball Run movie starring Keanu Reeves.
Absolutely.
And how dare Universal make us wait for such, or Universal or Paramount make us wait for such a concept? The Chinese are right in there and they get it done.
Exactly. And we respect them for it.
We damn well do. Right, should we do the box office top 10 then, Calvin?
Let's.
Number 10.
Bill?
Which I really enjoy. It's a horrible history's take on, the lost years of Will Shakespeare. And it's got a little bit of Mel Brooks, a little bit of Monty Python, a little bit of Carry On even, I suppose. But, it's a family film, a proper family film that you can watch with the kids and you can watch with the grown-ups. It's got a lot of humour that I laughed my ass off and still am to this day.
It's the kind of thing we get very rarely nowadays. It has been supplanted by 12A.
Exactly, much to the sort of chagrin of both you and I, it would seem.
Number 9.
Battle of Britain at 75.
Not a clue, and this is the snobbiest thing I've ever said out loud. I've not a clue, because it wasn't press shown.
Right, well.
Number 8.
A Walk in the Woods.
I really enjoyed this. A lot of people really were down on it.
This is the Bill Bryson adaptation.
This is the Bill Bryson adaptation. A lot of people have been really down this. Oh, it's not got a plot. It's just crass. Oh, it's just, old lads in the woods. Yeah, that's the fun of it.
Yes.
That's the fun of it. Those lads in the woods are Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. And what's not to love? I mean, I laugh myself senseless at the idea that, a black bear is now more feral, is now less feral looking than Nick Nolte. And go to Bryson. Let's go Bryson. That's how he says it. Yeah, you tell me Bryson. And I had a lot of fun. I forgot how much I enjoyed Nick Nolte on screen, actually.
Number 7.
We have The Secret Cinemas, The Empire Strikes Back.
You told me you almost saw this.
I almost saw this, and then I realised I'm a student, and the price of The Secret Cinema is ridiculous.
Is it? Really? I didn't know.
It's £80 a ticket.
Wow.
Yeah, it's jumped up a little bit for Star Wars, but it is £80 a ticket.
Wow.
Which, by the time you factor in travel and getting a costume, if you're like me, it's kind of ludicrous. For a movie
God, you're a nerd.
Yeah, for a movie I've seen over 30 times. Great movie. Deserves to be in the box office top 10. Not for Secret
So if we paid you £1 for every time you've seen The Empire Strikes Back,
I could probably almost afford to go. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Number 6.
Straight Outta Compton.
Have you seen Straight Outta Compton?
I have not, but I really want to.
You really want to?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised. I wouldn't have thought that'd be your kind of thing.
No, my sort of latent inner gangster really wants to go and see it.
Fair enough. That's that Bedfordshire massive,
Yeah.
Right. I liked Straight Outta Compton. I had a lot of fun watching it. I don't really see it as much of a true story drama. However, you know what? It is an entertaining drama.
Yes.
And really, does it need to be anything more than that? I don't think so.
Ironically whitewashes the story of the NWA.
Pretty much.
Number 5.
Inside Out in 3D.
Now, you've seen Inside Out, presumably.
I have not, no.
You have not?
No, my girlfriend managed to go and see it and has not shut up about it since. If I have to hear the Bing Bong song once more, I'm going to put myself through a wall.
The Bing Bong song is amazing, although not quite as amazing as any line of dialogue given to Lewis Black. And it's a very fun film, very touching film. Vintage Pixar, it must say vintage, typical Pixar in one sense. We'll have you laughing and crying in equal accords. Lovely, colourful, bright imagery, imaginative, looks good in 3D. Can't really say much fairer than that, really.
Number 4.
M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit.
Do you say Shyamalan?
Yes.
You know it's Shyamalan, right?
Shyamalan.
No, it's Shyamalan. Pronounced Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
It's Shyamalan.
This entire conversation is more interesting than the movie, so let's just move on.
That is very true. It is more interesting than this god-awful movie.
Number 3.
Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials.
Now, you're of the age where I presume you would actually have read The Maze Runner. Have you read The Maze Runner movie?
No, I was slightly too old when it came out. I hit The Hunger Games.
You're actually at that age where they should cast you in The Maze Runner movies.
Pretty much, yeah. I hit The Hunger Games, the first book, and then I am of the age where the later 2 books were gone for me. I never got to them.
Okay,
so
you're the Harry Potter crowd.
Yes,
basically.
The Maze Runner is one of those things which I entirely missed, but I am fully aware that it's only there, much like Divergent, because of Hunger Games.
Pretty much. It's hard to tell it apart from those 2 franchises particularly. It's convoluted, nonsensical, boring, plodding, uninteresting, and then there's some zombies show up and it becomes all those things all over again.
Number 2.
It's Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy in Legend.
We're Hardy and Hardy, woo! Just got a bit Muppets there for you.
Thank you.
It's because when I'm at home, I get the Marley and Marley song
Yes.
every time Christmas is mentioned, and the Muppets, because the Muppets TV show's on this week.
Yes.
Right, I like Legend. It really wants to be a Scorsese movie, but sadly it is too cartoonish to be a Scorsese. It is a cartoon.
Yes.
It is effectively a lad's cartoon, starring Tom Hardy and, Emily Browning, who looks well gorgeous in that, but she's got this awful voiceover. You know how Dexter redefined what we did with voiceovers?
Yes.
Yeah, this sends us right back to the beginning with this. And nobody in London didn't know the craze. And you're like, why?
Oh my goodness
if you're
gracious
narrating
me.
if you're narrating it like that, why are you acting in the film with a completely different accent? How long after filming have you done this voiceover?
Number 1.
The requisite event movie, Everest in IMAX 3D.
Right, what you want is Vertical Limit, what you get is The Perfect Storm. That's the best way to describe
God damn
Everest. And it's a two-hour movie, right? You've seen the trailer. They're on Everest. They get caught in the weather. Bad things happen. Right, 2-hour film. That weather doesn't hit until an hour 15 minutes in.
Unforgivable.
Unforgivable. Now, the only reason it should take that long to get to your concept is if you're going to be Batman and you have to be trained by
Absolutely.
Liam Neeson to be a ninja. That's the only way. Some film news then. Should we have a look at what's going on? We've got a Jack Reacher 2 villain.
We do.
Patrick Husinger, who I confess I do not know.
I have no idea. No, he was in one show on Bravo.
Is that Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce?
Yes.
Isn't that Cuddy from House who's in there?
I believe so.
And he's in something called Quantum Break, but I have no idea.
Quantum Break is a vastly delayed concept thing where it's a TV show that is influenced by people playing a video game.
Isn't that what Defiance was meant to be?
What's meant to be, yes. And this is trying to do the same thing, but with photorealistic video gaming.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So, Patrick Usinger, villain of Jack Reacher 2. There we go. Right, let's have some fun then with Solace, which is the latest starring Anthony Hopkins, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Abby Cornish, and none other than Colin Farrell, as it happens. So, concept. You're going to love this one, Kel.
I'm sure I am. Hit me.
Anthony Hopkins is a retired psychic.
Brilliant.
Who has moved into seclusion in a remote farmhouse following the death of his young daughter.
As psychics are wont to do.
It's never explained why, as a psychic, he couldn't see that his daughter was going to get leukemia, but never mind.
Naturally.
It should be pointed out as well, Hopkins is one of those Dead Zone style, Johnny Smith style sidekicks, psychics, not sidekicks, who touches an object and has a psychic vision relating to it. Said visions are played to us in the form of what seem to be lifted excerpts from MTV2 videos back in the day.
So for anyone my age, it's That's So Raven.
For anyone your
Cross
age,
with Hannibal.
Yeah, for your age, yeah, that is So Raven. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan, an FBI agent, and his partner Abby Cornish come to Hopkins one day and say, you know what, we've got this serial killer, we can't quite seem to nail this guy down. Can you use your psychic jiggery pokery and help us nail him? Yeah, help us book him. Or what's the term? Catch him, hunt him, trap him, whatever they do. Only there is a slight kink in the tail, which is the killer, it seems, is none other than another psychic. Here's a clip.
He knew that we would arrive at the apartment at exactly 4:16 because he knows everything. See, it's just like me. He sees things. Only he's better. A whole lot better.
Let's go! Go! The whole thing's a trap and we're walking right into it.
You gotta talk to me.
He's way ahead of us. And we're doing exactly what he wants us to do.
First things first.
Yep.
How did this make it past the pitch?
I have no idea. Right, it's worth pointing out as well. So this is directed by Fanso Piat, who seems to have studied TV shows exclusively for this. And
We've got a lot of this week.
Yeah, he seems to have studied procedural TV shows. You know, like of Criminal Minds or The Following or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems to be. If you told me genuinely that this was a pilot for sort of replacement series to fill the time slot left by the Kevin Bacon series The Following, and that they had instead given up and just decided, you know what, release the 2-part of the DVD, no one will notice, we'll call it a film.
It does sound like a TV show concept. It sounds like...
I believe it.
FBI agents team up with a psychic to catch psychics. That's...
Do you know what? Great TV show. I'd watch that. Why not?
But as an Anthony Hopkins starring...
I want to point out, when it gets to the very end of the film, and it says executive producer Anthony Hopkins,
everything makes sense.
Suddenly everything comes together.
Yeah.
You think, yes. Now, this is terrible. Really, really terrible. Now, I want to introduce you to Sean Bailey. Sean Bailey is the screenwriter of this god-awful piece of crap.
Okay.
And Sean Bailey is a terrible writer. Okay. He is a terrible writer who, for one thing, cannot write a line of dialogue without it being made entirely out of exposition.
What has he done before this little shot?
Off the top of my head, I did have all this down this morning, I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to point out that one of the earliest lines of dialogue in this film, because it literally opens with them finding yet another dead body.
Brilliant.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan saying, "I'm going to see him." And Abby Cornish saying, "I think that's a mistake." So, yes, but he can help us. "I think it's a big mistake."
Oh my god.
And you're thinking, really? This is... No. This film, first and foremost, does not deserve to be on a cinema screen. It doesn't deserve to be put in front of willing humans. But the idea it's on a cinema screen is just baffling. So you've got these psychic flash sequences which look like MTV2 videos, to the extent that I'm pretty sure the various members of Korn are currently considering legal action because they really could get away with it. You've got this screenplay which, as I say, is made up all the dialogue's made up of exposition. It establishes rules early on for the Dead Zone style psychic, and then bins the rules whenever they need to introduce a chase sequence, because all of a sudden Anthony Hopkins can just walk down the street and say, go left, go right, oh he's in that building there. You haven't touched anything.
No.
Unless you've had your hands in your pocket on your own junk, you've touched nothing. You know what I mean? Abby Cornish puts in one of the worst performances of any actor or actress this year. Abby Cornish, in this movie, has been out-acted by Adam Sandler in pixels, and I am not
Good
exaggerating.
God, man.
Not exaggerating. For Christ's sake, Qbert in pixels has outacted Abby Cornish in this movie. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's just doing that requisite sort of one size fits all, I'm slightly grizzled alpha male lead.
So he's the supernatural father again.
He is the father from Supernatural, complete with the shirt buttoned down to just below his nipples,
Brilliant.
kind of thing.
Of course, yeah.
You know the exact look as well.
The slight hint of chest hair.
The slight hint of chest hair and that 5 o'clock shadow, but of course it's 11 o'clock if you're Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And then you've got Anthony Hopkins who's doing the whole I am wry and witty and cleverer than you. It's sort of
right,
like,
well, yeah.
Like,
so he's being Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, you are. We get that, Sir Tony. But however, this film is not worth you.
No.
And should not ever have been committed to celluloid. It is ropey as hell. At one point, and it's so badly written that at one point, the fact that there is a very, very ignorant, offhand sort of sentiment that all gay people just come with HIV is not one of the worst things about it. That's how bad this film is.
Jesus Christ. It's 2015.
It's 2015. I know, I had the same thought. And it's just awful. I mean, there's no flair to it whatsoever. It just looks like a run-of-the-mill TV
Directed
pilot.
lethargically, acted terribly.
Yep.
Constructed with the level of fan fiction that would... That's an insult to fan fiction, right?
It is, yes. Seriously, this is Kirk and Spock getting on in an elevator level of fan fiction. Another level as well, it has one of this ridiculously, comically, laugh-out-loud funny, overblown score to it as well, by BT.
Who is BT?
Who is BT? BT is a person. That's his name.
No, it's not.
It is, and he does film scores. He did the score to Blade 2, interestingly enough. Seriously. And and the first Fast and the Furious. His name is BT.
Okay.
Which I think should presumably stand for barely talented. But at one point, his score for this film... And there is a moment in which Anthony Hopkins walks up a flight of stairs and it is scored with all the faux grandeur of Welcome to Jurassic Park. That sort... And you're like, he's walking up a flight of stairs. What's wrong with you people? No. Right, to call it ropey is to do a disservice to the manufacturers of Hessian products.
It's just awful.
Seriously, the only thing I can say positive about this film is that it has the courtesy, the good grace, the manners to open with the dictionary definition of the word solace as both a noun and a verb. And I can't help but think that the reason it does that is so that when you leave the cinema, you know exactly what it is you are in need of.
Well, at least we know.
We also have, of course, Laura Pulver.
Who I very much like.
What a shock! You're a
Yes.
fan. You're a fan of the naked chick from Sherlock. What are the odds?
It's the pale thing with the red lipstick and the dark hair. Okay,
no one can say you don't have a type.
I'm a simple man.
Well, she's joined Underworld.
Underworld 5.
Underworld
yeah.
5, because this is apparently a franchise that just will not die.
No,
It
much
figures-
like the vampires.
Much like the Immortals it centres around. This franchise will not die.
No.
And now it's got Laura Pulver. Is she a villain? Is she a hero? Is it?
We have no idea.
No
They
idea.
keep casting people for this movie and telling us nothing about them. Makes writing the news incredibly easy.
Should we talk about life then, Calvin?
I believe the meaning of it is 42.
Apparently so. In this case, however, Life is a movie starring Dane DeHaan and Robert Pattinson, which half of that sentence should make me vomit, but actually in this case, strangely, it works out quite well. So
It doesn't even matter which half you're referring to be honest, because after Amazing Spider-Man 2, it could be either.
Well, funnily enough, actually, Dane DeHaan's performance in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is something that comes to mind when you watch the film, because he's playing James Dean. So he's
Right.
doing that sort of brooding, proto-emo kind of thing.
Okay, so this
without
is the James Dean biography movie with his photographer that you weren't aware of until a week ago.
Well, I wasn't aware of the movie. I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of the photographer either, but I wasn't aware of the movie until a week ago.
You were aware of James Dean.
I was aware of the existence of James Dean.
The actor, not the porn star.
The actor, not the porn star. Spelled differently, though, I'll have you know.
Oh.
Right, so this is from Anton Corbijn, who was the director of Control back in 2007. I don't know if you ever saw that. This is now his fourth film. He's directed The American since, and A Most Wanted Man with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yes. Great director, it turns out, and this is his fourth film. And you know what? He's here to remind us yet again, I am one to watch. I am an interesting director. You should respect me thusly. And you know what? He kind of deserves it, actually. So this is the story of James Dean, who has a chance encounter with a struggling young photographer, Dennis Stock, played by Robert Pattinson, at a Hollywood party shortly before the release of East of Eden in 1955. Stock sees something in James Dean, like a potential, this guy could really be the star of something.
Yeah.
And he fights tooth and nail to get Life magazine to sign off on a photo essay of James Dean, the star of tomorrow, as it were. No sooner has he put his future into Dean's hands, however, than it soon comes to light that Dean isn't really up for taking on the limelight. He's not really on board with the loss of his freedom and the pressure that comes with it. And it may bring them both down as a result. Here's a clip.
They just keep coming at me. All right, just keep walking toward me. That was great, Jimmy. Are you still going to Indiana?
That's the night.
Yeah, I think I want to come.
So Dane DeHaan as James Dean, what's not to love? That's great casting. You see a picture of him, yes, James Dean, yeah, perfectly.
Makes sense.
Right, this film is full of little touches that really, really make it work. And one of them that I thought was really particularly good was they've gone and gotten the real photos and the real footage that are recorded and taken within the film. And when these are presented to us in film, as it were, they are of the real Dean and not of Dane DeHaan. It is lucky, though, that Dane DeHaan looks just enough like James Dean.
Because otherwise that could be incredibly immersion-breaking.
It kind of is like that. It kind of works. In a strange way, it does work. Robert Pattinson fares pretty well. However, it is Dane DeHaan's movie as James Dean. Could call him James Dane, as it were, in this.
Please don't ever do that again.
What? No, okay, I'll never do the Dr. Evil thing again. So... The only problem I have with this is it's well written, it's well directed, it's well acted. The only issue I have with it is whenever the story goes to focus on Robert Pattinson, all of a sudden it's a lot duller.
Right.
Now, that's not a reflection of Pattinson. He's very good in this film. It's the best performance I've ever seen Pattinson give.
Well...
However, that character is just simply not an interesting character. You think... Why not just give us the Jake? You've got Dane DeHaan.
Why not just do a James Dean biopic?
You've got Anton Corbijn, you've got Dane DeHaan, you've got this screenplay by Luke Davies, which is very, very good. And
this should really probably have been a 20-minute segment in an otherwise excellent Dane DeHaan James Dean biopic.
Yes, pretty much that is the case. What he does, Corbyn's success here is he allows the film to ponder and salivate and basically obsess over Luke Davis' script, and that works in its favour. Davis' screenwriting is terrific here, largely in that it manages to take this particular story and make sort of culturally relevant, contemporarily relevant statements about celebrity culture without the film descending into anachronism.
Right.
Which I think is actually, that's a hell of an achievement.
Very
Well
impressive.
done. Fair play. It does threaten to go slightly too Hollywood whenever Ben Kingsley turns up as Jack Warner, and he's just enjoyably menacing. It's a lot of fun, but you do think it's going a little bit Hollywood now, which is, although fun enough, he only really turns up in the scenes when they are actually in Hollywood. So
makes sense.
But you know what? It is a great film. I think it's perhaps a tad too overlong, a bit too nuanced for probably a little bit more of the mainstream audiences.
Sounds borderline pretentious, but with just enough interest to sort of carry it.
Yes, exactly. That works. See, yeah, that kind of sells it. So we kind of have to pick a film of the week, really. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of torn, and they're both the Entertainment One releases, so I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn between Life, which I think is a really well-made film, or Miss You Already, which just kind of made me laugh and cry. And
I'd go with Miss You Already.
You go with Miss You Already? Okay, yeah, I'll go with Miss You Already. I think because of the drag factor of the Robert Pattinson stuff in Life, although I do think please get Dane DeHaan back and do a James Dean movie, please. It would be so good. So we've got some interesting stuff to come next week. In the meanwhile, don't forget to go on onscreenfilm.com, go in the competition section and check out all the things you can win on there, which currently includes Age of Ultron DVDs. You can win those on there as well. We've got Martian goodies to give away in a few days' time as well. We've got loads of stuff coming up. We've got Cooties DVDs in the future, all sorts on there. And I got to watch Cooties recently, and it was a lot of fun. So, next week, of course, we've got Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway in The Intern. Are you excited about that one at all?
Only for Anne Hathaway.
Only for Anne Hathaway. Okay. We've also got The Martian, of course.
Which I'm terribly excited about.
I accidentally accidentally overheard the final 5 minutes of the film.
Goddamn.
Before screening yesterday, which annoyed the hell out of me. We also have Michael Fassbender's Macbeth.
Oh, yes, with Marion Cotillard.
With Marion Cotillard.
Which is also known as Assassin's Creed Part 1.
Assassin's Creed Part 1, the Shakespeare years.
Yes.
And of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the Frenchiest Frenchman who has ever lived in The Walk. Brackets IMAX 3D. So we've got all those to come and more next week off screen. This has been a Candy Store production for On Screen. I've been Van Connor.
I've been Calvin Prickett.
And we'll be back next week.
Just show me the way to get out of here, and I'll be on my way.
You've been listening to Offscreen. For more news and reviews, visit onscreenfilm.com.
Okay.